If you think talking about mental illness is scary, imagine what happens when we don't talk about it. Join the conversation. Visit letstalkstigma.org.
Hello, I'm Matt Smith, Executive Director of Prevention Focus and board member of the Anti-Stigma Coalition. And on behalf of all of us with that organization, I'd like to welcome you to the latest in our series of Facebook Live events. This time, we are focusing on the state of stigma, laborers, and mental health. It has been said that laborers and blue-collar workers are the backbone of the American economy. People in those jobs often embody some of the most positive of American ideals: hard work, determination, responsibility, toughness, and a willingness to do things that are necessary to succeed, even when they are sometimes unpleasant or even painful or dangerous. Unfortunately, some of those same positive or even heroic ideals sit alongside stigma around mental illness in the attitudes, norms, and beliefs of this group. In general, mental illness too often goes undiscussed in workplaces because it's just not an acceptable part of workplace climate and culture. But are attitudes changing among blue-collar workers? What are workplaces doing to make positive changes in this area? What else could be done or needs to be done? The answers to these questions and others will be explored in our upcoming panel discussion. Before I introduce our panelists, a couple of quick things. Our program is up for up to 1 hour. During this time, if you have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we will respond accordingly. Your questions often lead to some great dialogue, so please don't be shy. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our panelists. Janice Vertlieb. Janice Vertlieb is the Vice President of Accounting at Grove Roofing in Buffalo, a commercial roofing company that employs approximately 80 workers. Janice sits on the board of directors of the Buffalo Niagara chapter of the Construction Financial Management Association. In that role, she represents the national movement for suicide prevention in the construction industry as the chapter's liaison. Thanks for joining us, Janice.
My pleasure.
Gerald Fountain. Gerald Fountain is the owner, president, and CEO of Aurora Window System Contracting. With over 26 years of experience, Gerald takes extreme pride in providing Western New York with high-quality service and his outstanding professional track record. He's a graduate of Howard University and the father of 2 adult children. His hobbies include attending live concerts and international travel. Gerald is a member of the NA and AA recovery communities. His philosophy is to serve humanity and believes that health is wealth. Welcome to our panel, Gerald.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Adam Sassone. Adam Sassone currently serves as the Chief of Staff and Chief Operating Officer at the Buffalo Sewer Authority. His role at BSA, Adam oversees a staff of approximately 250 people, while also working closely with the general manager and executive staff on all aspects of operations. Prior to that, Adam worked for New York State in a variety of roles, including leading the COVID vaccine effort across Western New York during the pandemic. After graduating from Buffalo State in 2000, Adam taught special education at the Buffalo Public Schools for 7 years before moving to New York City for a job with the National Basketball Association. While in New York, Adam attended New York University and earned a master's degree in sports business. Adam lives in North Buffalo with his wife and 2 daughters. Thanks for being a part of the discussion, Adam.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you, Matt.
So, welcome to all of our panelists, and let's get started by hearing more about the businesses that each of you represent. And I'm interested in hearing, what does the business do, and what is your role in the business, and why does your business care so much about mental health? Janice, could we start with you?
Absolutely. And good afternoon to everybody. So, Grove Roofing, we employ about 80 people, and roofing is hard, as a lot of construction industries are. It's a lot of weather, early hours, seasonal work, and that typical stoic, behavior is just very prevalent in the industry. A lot of, old school kind of mentality mixed in with the new apprentices who are trying to bring their new philosophies to an old industry. But Grove Roofing, what we do here is try to keep the conversation going constantly. As my role as the liaison for the national it's the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. That's organized through the CFMA, Construction Financial Management Association, where I sit on the board. As that person in that role, I can bring that message to construction companies and explain why the construction industry back in 2016 was the #1 industry affected by this pandemic. And it is just unbelievable. I think it's gone down to #2, only replaced by miners, but that's still pretty large. So it's a big deal nationally. And the why of it, there's so many reasons, and hopefully we'll talk about that a little later in the conversation. But the national movement it's important to keep that message going into a local place. So what we do here is just we talk a lot. We bring them in for safety meetings, and once a year we have a specific suicide prevention, and also we talk about the use and misuse of drugs, alcohol, as a form of self-medicating. We have to talk about it, right? And so that's how we handle it. And myself, as a former volunteer firefighter, also part of emergency services through my town, I guess I have a passionate place where I like to bring this message to the forefront. And one little side, which isn't very little, but we at Grove Roofing, and many people in the Buffalo area know, we did lose our president a year and a half ago to suicide, which unfortunately is hard because we started this movement many years before we lost him. So that's and we have a lot of personal stories, but that one is, I think a lot of people will know who he is. So.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing all that. So a lot of the work that you do is actually comes to you from the national organization. What kind of support does that look like in terms of what you actually receive from the national group?
Yeah, we actually, every chapter has this liaison, and we have a separate group that we meet once a quarter via Zoom, and we all share different methods of communication. Some people create toolbox talks. They everyone shares different ideas, different concepts. Do we do a lunch every once in a while? It's great to hear it from a national perspective. And the hardships are all the same. We're all dealing with the same reasons why. It's just, how are you coping with it? That's one thing. And then their website, which is, I'm going to read my little cheat sheet here, preventconstructionsuicide.com is their website. And the tools on that website are amazing for business leaders, project managers, and anyone who can communicate to the field. Again, toolbox talks are there. Great things they can do as management. And one other thing we've done here at Grove is we've also put in a not-for-profit that's connected to our employees to help with financial burden, because we did find that that's one of the reasons. So again, we can talk about that maybe later in the conversation.
Yeah, I would love to. Absolutely. There's so much here to unpack. I appreciate all
Right.
that. Thank you. Moving on, Daryl, I'd love to hear a bit about business and, your professional walk, and also, why you feel that the mental health is a big part of the discussion in your professional walk.
Well, thank you for having me here. My company, Aurora Window Systems, is a company, 13-year-old company. We employ about 16 people, and we use a lot of subcontractors. And so what I've noticed, because I am from the recovery community, that people medicate and deal with stress various different ways, and they don't seem to have the outlet to talk about what's really going on, right? So some of the things that we do here at Aurora is we have a weekly meeting where I ask people, what's going on? It shows up to me because I know what to look for, right? Like, you're late, right? You're tired, and you're not engaged. So those are signals to me to reach out to people at times. And it goes not only for my workers, but subcontractor workers when I'm on the site and I'm watching people, right? A while back, we had this public service, I think you were going to mention it earlier, about a public service ad campaign where it was called Be a Man, right? And it was talking about the direct stigma of being able to talk to someone about your problems, right? And the ad campaign was basically trying to break it down and say, hey, it's okay to talk about your problems. And we wanted to change the emphasis on being a man, because in the past, being a man was like, man up, don't tell anybody what's really going on. Man up, you can do this, toughen up, this is what we do. That's old school, right? And that's why we have so many people dedicate themselves or are not being highly functional in their lives and in their careers. So the Man Up ad campaign was like, hey, this is what we do. We need to put a different spin on this. Man Up now is like, hey, we talk about things. It's okay to say I'm hurting. It's okay to say I need a little help. It's okay to talk about the problems, because what you find out in the communities that are, or homes that are people who are dealing with things, they believe that they're the only one going through it, right? And when you start talking about it, you find out that you're not the only one. So, my life today wouldn't be what it is if I didn't reach out for help. I had to reach out for help, and so now I try to give back.
It's really, really great. Thank you for sharing that. A quick question. You said that you have your core group of employees, and you've also got the subcontractors.
Yes.
So all these discussions, these things, these messages that you're trying to convey, you do it the same with all of them?
Well, when I'm on the job and I see a subcontractor's guy, not being fully engaged or not being, I try to talk to him, right? I say, hey, how you doing? And I'm always looking for something to smell like. Are you drinking? Are you tired? Or like something, I just try to reach out and let them know that it's okay, that there's help available. If you have any issues, is there anything I can help you with? Right? Because I've been there, right? I know what it's like, right? And I know that sometimes asking for help is the hardest thing to do, because you have to be vulnerable. And that's what we're trying to break. Trying to break down the stigma of a man not being able to share what's going on. To a man is a man because he talks. Because he is vulnerable, right? Because he can bring forth, and that's what we try to do.
Wow, that's really great, and I appreciate you sharing that. We'll come back to a lot of this other stuff too. Adam, so how are things at the Buffalo Sewer Authority? What's that like? What's your role there? And what about mental health at the Sewer Authority?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, things are good, very good here at the Sewer Authority. We've, as you said in your introduction, we've got a staff of approximately 250. And listening to Janice and Daryl talk about, kind of the associated stigmas, I would say of those roughly 250, 80 to 85% are men. And so it's certainly a male-dominated workplace. But I think what we try to do is making sure that both our male staff, our female staff, we don't. The gender thing I mentioned only is to show how kind of lopsided it is, but it's still important for us to be checking on all of our employees, right? And so, truthfully, we really are a public health, facing organization here. We want to take that dirty water and make it clean, right? And make it safe and healthy. The event that I just came from is part of our new initiative here called Queen City Clean Waters, and it's going to be upgrades to our systems and our combined sewer overflows and making those improvements to improve that public health. So, when we talk about at the Sewer Authority, we have our at our executive staff meetings, our general manager is OJ McFoy, and OJ's a great model, and I think we'll talk a little bit about modeling later. But OJ is a great model for this. We begin every executive staff meeting, our weekly meetings, with talk about something good going on in your lives. We take a few minutes and start the meetings that way. And our staff might talk about their son or daughter was accepted to this college, or maybe this child won a trophy in sports, or this person's going to go on vacation with their wife, whatever it is. But I think starting those meetings that way provides, just a little little levity, a little like a reminder that we're here to celebrate the good things too. There's work to be done, but we need to remember that we have a life outside of this building, outside of our treatment plant facility, and wherever we are. So I think what we've done too, I've been here roughly, actually just about 2 years now, coming up on my 2-year anniversary. And one of the things that I heard early on from our staff was morale. How can we improve the morale here? And I think that's probably, I don't think that was an issue, solely for the sewer authority. Of course, I think a lot of workplaces we talk about morale, right? And Janice talked about doing these, weekly, meals together. We just did a cookout. The executive staff put together a cookout a couple of weeks ago. Thankfully, the weather was a little different back then, but we just did a cookout a couple of weeks ago for all of our staff, and we had hot dogs and hamburgers, and people gathered. And I'd heard an employee say, I overheard an employee say that he hadn't stayed on our treatment plant island for lunch in almost 20 years, and here was everyone gathering together. So, we're looking for ways to help boost morale. We're looking for ways to help the employees make sure that they know they have a voice. And I think all of that really lends itself well to the mental health aspect. The work isn't easy. It's certainly not easy at all. And there are many of our staff members who are, putting themselves, they're working outside, they're working in terrible conditions. They're going underground. We preach, you can't see the board in my office right here, over here, but at the top it says safety, safety, safety. And we talk about safety ad nauseum. And we're always, as a team, as an executive leadership team, and they're under my watch too, trying to make sure that our team, our staff understands that we care about their safety, we care about them, and safety isn't just physical. Safety is mental as well. And that's something that we've really tried to preach, since I've come on board. So
it's really, it's the staff at 250. Are you, handling, the check-ins and the meetings and all that kind of things with every single person that's part of that group, or does it play out differently with different departments? How does that look?
Yeah, I would say, Matt, honestly, that's where you're relying on your leadership teams to kind of report back, right? So, we've got a team. I'm in City Hall right now, and we've got our wastewater treatment plant over by Freedom Park, where I would say, most of our staff is either checking in or going in. But it's checking with our maintenance department, it's checking with our sewer maintenance department, it's checking with their operations staff, checking with the supervisors, checking with all those folks. If I had, all the time in the world, I'd love to check in with each employee individually, but it's reminders. It's those conversations we have at those executive staff meetings. Hey, how is your staff doing? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing that? It's, we work closely with our union leadership as well to make sure that our employees are taken care of. One of the things that we've met with our staff about recently was about making sure that every single employee has PPE. We don't want to send anybody out in the workplace without, the steel-toed boots, without the hard hat, without the high visibility gear. Those things are important. I think if an employee feels physically safe, they're going to feel a little mentally safer. And so to really kind of go back to your question, Matt, I have a great relationship with our leadership team, and we all work together. It's not just a top-down messaging. It's discussions about, hey, what can we do better here? What can we do better there? And also getting feedback from our employees as well. That I've told our staff, every single one, when I meet with the group, when I send out emails, when I talk to them, my door is open. It's always open. If you have ideas how we can do this a better way, we're all ears here. So, yeah.
Seems like so much theme I'm hearing about over and over again with all three of you is this idea of rapport, relationships, and then trust. Because, boy, oh boy, you got to have that if you're going to be talking about some of this stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Being vulnerable. I was going to say, and being vulnerable too, letting them know, letting your employees know that we're all vulnerable, and that even management, even the owners, we're all, nobody knows what anyone's going through. And just because someone's in management, someone's, boots on the ground, we're all the same. And keeping that one door open for communication is very helpful.
I want to chime in a little bit here too. It is important that you establish personal relationships. You let people know that you care, right?
Right.
You care. You let them know that you have an open door, right? And let them know that like they're not unique. There's nothing that's so unique that you can't talk about it, right? And so I share my journey, just to let people know, like, hey, if I can, you can, right? You can like overcome most any obstacles.
Right.
Being vulnerable and letting people in is difficult for men.
Mhm.
It's very difficult. But when you allow them that environment, though, when you create an environment to allow that to happen, then you see slight movement. It doesn't come fast because they have to begin to trust
Mhm.
that you're not going to use it against them. See, that's why men are so strong, because if you're weak, then you're going to, it's going to come back to haunt you. No,
Right.
we want you to understand that that's actually strength. It's more difficult to do than to hold it in. So
Yeah.
we make that really known when we're getting together.
Right.
And Daryl, I'm glad you said that, Matt. I'll just say this quickly. I think that one of the key tenets I try to follow in my leadership role here at the authority is, that people need to know that you care. I've worked in government for over a decade now, and I've thought about, our constituents, right? I hope city residents know how much we care about public health and that. But I also, on the flip side, my employees need to know how much I care. And I'll have employees come in my office and say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. And I'll always cut them off and say, don't, you're not bothering me. And I tell them too, like the most valuable thing that I can give them is time. That is the most valuable thing that I have is time. And it's a one-on-one conversation, and it might be 5 minutes, but I hope that employee knows that those 5 minutes were as meaningful to me as it is for them. And it might be they need to vent, or it might be that they need to ask me a question or whatever it is. But I'm always careful to let our employees know that you're not bothering me. There's not a late time to call or text. I got a text last night. Sorry for the late. Don't apologize. Like, just tell me what you got. Right. So I think, to that point, letting people know that you care, like they need to know that you care, and making your employees, I think I would say building an environment where your employees feel comfortable coming to your office. I mean, if my door was always closed and I grumble, I think that would be, a disservice to our employees and a disservice to our team. But, I've always tried to maintain that we're in this together. You have a problem, you have an idea, you have a solution to something. Let's come talk about it, and that's our kind of the path that we choose here at the Sewer Authority.
I think that there's in addition to the general stuff that we've been talking about, there's got to be also some underlying fear about, is my job in jeopardy if I come forward? I mean, am I going to hurt myself for advancement? Am I going to get passed over for promotion? How do you overcome that? Janice, what do you think?
Yeah, great question. And I think that's where, when we bring the entire company together, when we're having a company discussion, is when we're talking to them, we're giving them the power to help themselves, and that we can help them, and that we let them know there's no judgment. And then again, part of that vulnerability is I share my stories of struggles or family struggles. We lost a child due to addiction and fentanyl, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Daryl, to your point of the strong, being the tough guy, trying to let these, in our world with guys, we only have one female boots on the ground person. But let them know that it's not an issue. We're here to help you achieve your job better, and being open about struggles that you might be having that are causing you to be late, or causing you to miss many days because you're sleeping too much, or whatever it is. We empower them. I think that's the key word. Empower them to help themselves, or to let their foreman know that they might need assistance. I have had many, I'm going to say many, meaning we'll say 6 in the past 2 years, employees, where they felt comfortable enough to call, I need help. I don't know what to do. Where would that have happened in the last 5 years, right? If we weren't talking. So to me, that's wonderful. It's better than the phone call that I received 8 years ago, where I'm not coming in today because I just tried to kill myself last night. I mean, as any any professional prepared for that phone call? No. So to answer your question, it's really just conversation and making them feel comfortable and trusted, that they trust in us, that we're not going to judge them.
I think that's the only come with some intentionality, and repetition of the message that they really do believe it and
Yes.
sticking with it. So we got our first questions coming in the chat, and we hope that our viewers continue to give us the questions. Here's one. Where do employers have to draw the line between asking if their employees are okay and overstepping from an HR stand? Any of you have any guidance or wisdom on that front?
I mean, I'll say here, I mean, I think part of it is I think Daryl and Janice have both said this, is the building of those relationships, right? And like, you might not have in-depth conversations with an employee the first time you've spoken with them, but if you invest in your employees, if you invest that time and that energy with your employees, does the line get blurry? It might, but it's I think it's a natural outcome of working closely together. You're gonna have friendships. We spend all day with our work family, right? We spend all day with our staff, with our team. And then you're bound to grow these friendships. I mean, we have, our once a month luncheon. We'll when it's end of the summer, we'll do ice cream. Whatever it is, like we'll do things together, and I think that's natural. So, I'm trying to answer the question. I mean, yes, you probably don't want to ask any specifics, or if they're not offering. But I think my answer to that would be, if you have a comfortable relationship, if you've built that environment where employees feel safe talking to you, then I think it's okay to say, are you okay? Like, what is it that I can do to help? And quite honestly, maybe worry about maybe the HR part of it becomes secondary, as long as you feel like you're, speaking in a professional manner, so.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. Daryl, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, when the signs become obvious, right? You care enough to observe your employees enough that you have to open up a way for them to come. You can't make them come, but they have to know that the door is open, right? They have to know that help is available. They have to know, most of all, like Adam said, you care, right? And the organization cares. So if you can create that, like sometimes, just the door open is all you can do. You can't reach in and say, hey, come this way. I see this. No, it's never that way. The door is open. We're here. And if anything that you may be struggling with, we're here to help you. Right. And you just keep the door open and encourage them or encourage the organization or the body as a whole that we're there, right, to help.
Right. Well said. We got another question coming in. Are younger employees more inclined to speak up? If so, do they encourage older individuals? How do you get that going on? Anyone want to field that one?
Sure, I can talk about that one. We definitely have a nice mix of generations. And yes, I would say the younger employees are maybe because they're just listening to a lot of the media more, that we're talking about it more. And yes, I would say they are more inclined to voice their feelings. Do they help the older individual? I can't say that I've seen that. I would hope that maybe they help them understand that it's a safer place to go to now, that you can. But I think that's a tough nut to crack, is that older generation for sure. So I would say yes, that the younger generation is more open.
I would agree. The younger people are more open because they're more affected by today's societies, like the death. Like their friends are dying, right? So like it's in their face. You have a friend one day, the next day you don't have a friend, right? And so the younger people are experiencing more and more of loss, and the older people, the old way of thinking is just hard to break for them. And they're at a point where they're about to retire or move on to something else, right? And so they're just you just have to open the door for them, right? But the younger people are the ones experiencing the hits day after day.
Okay, might as well keep going with the questions. We got another one. How do mental health issues and in what ways I think affect safety on the job. How much of it is an issue with mental health, with safety? What have each of you seen? How does it work? Go ahead, Daryl.
So safety is the most important thing that we do on our jobs. That's like number one, right? Like, if I have a guy who hasn't slept all night because he was out doing drugs, he's a threat to everyone's safety, right? And so that's where you have to be really in touch with your team, right? You got to look him in the eye in the morning. Your supervisor has to look and make sure everybody's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because you can't have a guy on a construction site with all the exposures going on, right, that could injure someone else, right? So we have to be, a part of the preventive part of taking care of our people, even when they might not take care of themselves. We have to do that.
Adam, I imagine you have something to say about this.
Yeah, so many of our workers are often outside. They're often working maybe curbside. As you're working on those sewers, I mean, and we talk about the safety. I mean, we've got strict rules in place, how to set up cones to make sure that you're blocking off the area, how to, what you should be wearing. And like, kind of like what I said before, Matt, I think from our point of view, ensuring that our employees have everything they need physically, whether it's the helmet, it's the high vis gear, it's the steel-toed boots, it's the pants, I think that lends itself well to the mental health. I'm not saying it cures any ailments or it takes care of everything, of course, but we have had some incidents over the last few years that have caused us to take a look at how we do things, have caused our employees to ask more questions, and so yeah, I mean, mental health and safety, I think, kind of go hand in hand, in the sense that if they feel safer, I think they'll feel better about their jobs. Like, we would never ask our employees to go work on a Niagara Street, on a busy street, busy intersection, if they were not feeling safe, if they were not feeling comfortable, if we weren't sure about what exactly we were doing. So I do think that they work hand in hand, and I think the safer that you can make an employee feel, I would guess, I don't want to say for sure, but I would guess the stronger they would feel mentally.
And I would think that with every time you emphasize safety to everyone, that you have another opportunity to say, I care about you, company.
And that's the way we show it. Sometimes the words aren't, I care about you directly, right, Matt? Sometimes it's, hey, we've got your PPE. Hey, we don't want you going out there right now because it's not okay. Hey, I mean, that's another way to say, that we care about you. And that's what, I mean, it's safety always, right? And so we will continue to advocate and push safety for our employees with everything we do.
Well said. If anyone is just joining us, I'm Matt Smith from the Anti-Stigma Coalition, and I'm joined by Janice Vertlieb of Grove Roofing, Daryl Fountain of Aurora Window Systems, and Adam Sassone of the Buffalo Sewer Authority. We've been discussing mental health and blue-collar workers. We'll be talking even more about the role of stigma as an impediment to addressing mental health issues and strategies for overcoming it. Everyone joining us, please do take a minute and check out our website, letstalkstigma.org, and maybe join the over 4,000 others in taking the pledge to end stigma. Also, if you're connected with a business, organization, or faith community, you can become an organizational member of the Anti-Stigma Coalition. You can find information for this on the website under the Members tab. Now back to our discussion. Adam, I was wondering about, we talked about a little bit earlier about workplace settings, and you talked about the challenging nature of the settings that we put our people in. I think all three of you can comment on this. How much does that go in? How much harder is it to maintain positive mental health when you're asking people to do some of these difficult things at difficult places?
I mean, certainly, Matt, it's a big factor, right? As an example, as we're getting into the colder season here, last year, not only were our employees doing their day-to-day work, we were asking them to, again, you're working outside, you're working in some tough conditions. Some of our truck drivers that work for sewer were getting called in to help with snow plowing. last year, Mayor Brown had opened a few warming centers across the city, and we had our staff that helped staff up those centers to make sure that any city residents that were there were safe and were well taken care of. So I with our team too, I mean, there's just with 250 people, and I would say about a little over 200 of them usually off-site, off in the workplace, often somewhere in the city. The challenge is making sure that, again, like that they feel safe. One, it's always safety first, but two, that they're together, that they're working together. We send people out in crews, right? And so that way they're not going alone for the most part, and we really try to emphasize the communication as well, making sure that you're seeing something that doesn't make sense, you're seeing something that you're not so sure about. Talk to your supervisor, talk to executive staff, let someone know that you're not certain about this particular work environment that you're in. So it's a constant thing that we talk about. The feedback from our employees is also incredibly important. Hey, we went to this site. There's a fence up that's not supposed to be there. We couldn't get access. We decided to leave. Great decision. Like don't try to enter don't try to enter an area that maybe somebody decides that you shouldn't be on. So we'll go back, and that's happened as well. So just that constant communication, and I think is really key there.
I was thinking about you with this question because I mean, outside cold elements, that's one thing. Underground, wet, extended periods of time without natural light, smelly things. I mean, I imagine it might be tough to maintain.
It is, Matt. It certainly is, and we've heard stories, not at the sewer authority, but in different training sessions we've had, or in different getting together with other like-minded organizations. Hey, one of our workers was in the ground a lot longer than he thought he would be. Something along those lines, and you never want to hear that. But this is why communicating is important. This is why the PPE is important. This is why we train our employees too. We're going through another round of training as well to make sure that whatever the latest and greatest is as it comes to safety and prevention of any mistakes there, that we can provide that. So yeah.
Well, appreciate that. At the top of the show, I said that blue collar workers embody many of the ideals that make us all proud. But do those same ideals contribute to the stigma around mental illness? Janice, what do you think?
I think for sure. The stigma, we hear it, we read about it all the time. It means you're less than, you're, we have to treat you with kid gloves. You've disclosed you might have a mental illness, you might be dealing with depression, anxiety, whatever. And on a job site, that's, all you can do is talk about it and say, no, that's not the way it is. That it's no different. Would you treat anybody different if they had cancer? It's no different. It's just, if you're going to share that kind of information, and there's nothing wrong with sharing that information if you choose to, it's an illness. It's just, and that's the education part, is trying to help this mainly older generation, but we'll just say it's people, learn that illness is illness. And doesn't matter if you can see it or you can't see it, and that we all need to help each other. And through communication and through caring and treating others with great respect, because you never know what anyone's going through, ever. And we tried, again, to communicate that very strongly to our workforce, and we live it. And we have reminders on their hard hats, be mindful of others, be caring for each other, always watch each other's back. Safety, 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 like you guys are all saying. It is, don't feel your job is at risk, your position is at risk. Talk. It's okay if you choose to. So trying to just take that word stigma and remove it, if we can. But that's going to be a lot of conversation for a lot of years.
Yeah. Hopefully we are making some progress there. We talked a little bit about male dominated, workforces here, but there are women also that are in some of these positions.
Mhm.
Does stigma play out differently among the two? And is that dynamic of women in these jobs, how does that play out with the stigma?
We don't have a lot of females in the field, so I guess I haven't had a lot of experience with that. Any females we've had in the industry are really in the office, um, you know, and being in the firefighting, world myself, I was among many men, and um, I guess, I acted more like they did. I kept it quiet, and that was years ago. So um, I look back now, and I, would probably love to bring this message to that industry as well. But so I guess I can't really contribute too much to that one.
Oh, you said some important things there, Janice, I think. And Adam, you got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think for our workers, as I said before, we're pretty male heavy on that side of it, but all of our employees, no matter the gender, are required to take various trainings and understanding, about workplace settings, and we've had there are women who women who are working on our huge Vector trucks, right? Women who are lifting the same things that the men are lifting. And I don't say that to sound surprised whatsoever. What I'm saying is that those women are working right closely with the men. They're working together, and I think what we've done and what we've tried to do and what we'll continue to do is to ensure those comfortable work environments, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your job is. We want to make sure that that you're comfortable. So I think the continuous, I think it boils down to communication, but I think it's also it's upskilling and uptraining your staff to make sure that they understand, hey, this is okay at work, this isn't. We've had, like most workplaces, I'm sure we've had incidents where we've had to talk to staff. Hey, you can't use that kind of language. You have to understand why, and that's part of it too. So we've really strived to make our workforce and our work environment friendly for all.
Right. We talked about male and female. We talked about older and younger. There's obviously other subgroups. Daryl, have you had any experience with stigma playing out different ways inside your business?
Well, we don't have any women at all in our company except for
Right.
in administration, and so I think it's true everywhere you go as far as construction goes, right? You're going to have a male-dominated population. Although of late, I've seen many women in the sanitation department. I've seen more women in the sanitation department in the city than I've seen anywhere, driving vehicles and so forth and so on. But women are more likely to say something if they have more courage than guys. I've witnessed, right? They'll say something if the environment presents itself. They'll say when no one is saying anything. They'll stand up and say, like, I've been in situations where I'm in meetings and it's like one woman there, and she'll say, like, the obvious situation is, what nobody's talking about, right? So I do feel that as long as you can create an environment where the door is open and people can communicate their concerns, it'll slowly begin to move forward. Crashing the stigma. The stigma is deep, though. It's
Right.
just it's been like since the existence of man, I would say. That thing, right? So it just we're at a point right now where we have social media and we have like things that we're doing right now, where before none of that was happening.
Right. No doubt. Okay. We have a couple more questions that have come in I'd like to get to. I always try to get to all of them if we can. Do unions have any mental wellness programs or support mental health diagnoses in any way? Anyone like to comment on that?
I think for us at the Sewer Authority, our union leadership has really been proactive in ensuring that employees feel safe and feel comfortable. So I don't know. I can't speak to if they have their own programs, but we've certainly conferenced with our union leadership. We've certainly talked with them and said, hey, we want to do this for this employee kind of thing, and making sure that they're aware. I think that those relationships are important too with our union. And so ultimately we all want the same thing, the best for our employees. So and we do have various programs that we can direct our employees to if they're in need of help.
Okay, very good. We also have another question.
We're a union shop. Is
is your experience pretty much?
Yeah, sorry, I keep breaking up. We're a union shop as well, and we're signatory to 3 unions. And so what I've done is when we have these conversations with our employees, is have up on the screen the contacts that are specifically designated by those unions to handle the mental health situation. So it's another resource, that's all. And as far as what they offer, I can't speak to it, but at least they have a direction. And I encourage them to take pictures of the slides so they have it for later.
Okay. Thanks for that. Another question. I imagine the employees of the city of Buffalo can utilize an EAP, an employee assistance program. Are there resources for the small business owners, employees that you are aware of?
Well, I'm the smallest of the group here, so we have an open door policy. I mean, we meet regularly, right? We meet and talk, so we don't have an EAP, or we just have just us, right? So we do make it quite clear, just based on my study, that help is available for any and everything. I mean, I talk about, in my meetings, I talk about finances, I talk about safety, I talk about, recovery, I talk about all the things that I've learned that are important to the wellness of a human being in some way, form, or fashion in the journey that I've taken. So we have that open door policy where we allow people to, sit with all of us as a group and talk.
Very good. I was wondering about we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I'd like to circle back to it as far as progress, where we were, say, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Where are we now with the stigma issue? Have we made improvements? And if so, why do you think we have? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
We've made improvements.
Yeah.
The fact that we have this program right now. The fact that we're bringing the openness of what we're talking about. No one ever talked about stigma.
Right.
There was an ad campaign I was talking about, Man Up. That was never in existence a couple of years ago. So, the energy is, what happens when you apply energy, things change. So that there is a movement to break down the stigma, to let people know that there's help available, and, and to allow them to do the most. It's hard to be vulnerable. It really is in any given situation. So we try to create that. So yes, there is movement. Is it fast? Is it gang? Is it busting down doors? I don't know, but it is movement.
Janice, would you agree?
I would. Having been in construction itself for about 30 years, seeing it's been a rather, I think, swift advancement in the last, we'll say, 5-6 years. I think that's where the focus has been. But prior to that, really nothing. But yes, I would say we've made some really good improvements. And just like you guys both said, Daryl and Adam, just the fact that we're talking about it, we're having an event like this. There's resources like crazy out there, and it's awesome. It's not stopping, but it is helping. I do believe that.
And I think also too, Janice, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think it's helpful too when maybe especially younger people who, social media has good and bad, right? And I think younger people will see. I know in the National Hockey League that they've taken a great deal of interest in with Bell, saying it's okay to not be okay, right? And to talk about this. And I think more than ever, we've seen whether it's on social media and the access to celebrities that you have there, or through the campaigns of sports leagues or businesses or or Hollywood or whatever it is, that people are talking more openly about their mental health. People are being more willing to share about some of maybe the struggles they've had, because so many people can relate to that. I would be shocked if there were 250 people at our workplace, and 75% of them didn't have some kind of problem or struggle at one point in their lives, or whatever it is. And I'm probably underestimating that number, but I think that the fact that the stigma and the opportunity to share and discuss that has been kind of pushed out to a more national level, and sharing through different Instagram, or again through these various partners, I think that's been really, really helpful.
Well, that's good. I tend to agree too. I mean, Daryl, you pointed out the pace of this sometimes might make us, really impatient. We want to get better faster. And does anyone have any thoughts about what else maybe could be done? What more should we be doing going forward? Is there a place of improvement that we could really focus on in this area, you think, to help this population?
I don't know. I think we've really continue the momentum. I can't think of anything new to add on to it. But I think you've got 3 really good examples here of people who deal with this on a daily basis, whether it's in bringing our personal world to the professional world and keeping it going and going and going. And I think that's the key, is just continue more than just the conversation. Let's get out there. Daryl, I love that, you say you go out and you look at that person in the eye and take a good overall check on things. If all company owners did that, or all bosses did that, foremen took the time to really get to know their people, and yes, I mean, borderline with HR, but take it to the point of really, let's be human. We're all here for the same reasons. So
the resources today are, like Janice was talking about, are like not before the past 5 years just changed dramatically. The openness, like the platforms, like never before. So even the HRs, like at Adams, like the city of Buffalo, like everybody's realizing that the human condition is suffering in some fashion, and that there has to be something done. And so there are resources and people. Like I was looking at the bottom line, crisis services, and there's so many places you can call to get help. Like, and it's just there. Help is there, but you got to go get it. Right? The doors are open. You got to walk through it. Right? So yeah, it's big. It's much better than it was in the past.
Mm-hmm. Janice, we talked about in the beginning, you revealed that, the company had experienced a suicide. Mm-hmm. And thank you for sharing that. Would you just quickly share a little bit what the company did to take steps to help the associates in the aftermath of that? Because I think that could benefit a lot of people. Absolutely,
because that was a challenge, right? And, one day our president is here, and then the next day he's not. And none of us saw it coming. A very successful man, wonderful family man, just a wonderful humanitarian, just a wonderful human being. And so what we tried to do to help our employees get through this, we talked. We brought everyone in for a meeting. I handed out suicide prevention bracelets. We talked about, if you're feeling struggles, please talk to your loved ones, talk to us, talk to your coworkers, please communicate. We don't want to ever be in a position of, what could we have said that might have changed something? Everybody was questioning that. What didn't we see? And, you don't want to be in that position, and we've all been there. So we also, to the 1-year anniversary, we gave everybody the day off to go and spend with your family. And that's what we would encourage you to do. What you choose to do is your own business. But we paid for you to be off for the day, middle of the week. But just to remember John, and remember the kind of person he was, and try to live like John lived. And that's all we can do. So we have his initials in a sticker on everyone's hard hat, and we handed those out just a few days afterward and said, please try to live like he lived. And then we explain what that is. And if you knew who he was, you'd know. So always trying to keep that positive attitude towards them, but to never diminish the fact that if you're struggling, you need to talk. You don't want to be the family left behind. You don't want to be the friends left behind. And most of them came to the service and got to see just how everybody was affected. There were over 600 people there. So it's all we can do is just be positive.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing. So thank you for that. Another question came through. Do you ever hear from family members who might be concerned about their loved ones? Does that ever happen? People from the families of the workers you employ reaching out to you for support or to give you a heads up or anything like that? Does that ever happen?
I have not had that. We've just had the direct employee reaching out. How about you, Adam? Have you had?
Yeah, I think we've probably had to consult or call, maybe a family member if there was something noticeable, but I don't know that anyone has reached out to us directly. I could be wrong, but I don't know that anyone has called on an employee's behalf, but we've certainly talked with family before if there were concerns about something. Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Sorry, Daryl, go ahead.
Yeah, the family members are like watching from the sideline and they're very silent. They're just watching their loved one hurt. And they don't want to cause any what they may see as undue harm to the person already struggling. So I think they sit in silence more than they should. And I don't think it's okay to, for a family member, you have to deal with that person. I haven't seen it happen, and it didn't happen in my life. So,
okay. All right. Well, appreciate the answer. We've only got a couple minutes to go, and I'd just like to each of you take a turn here to any brief closing remark you'd like to make that you could share with us before we say goodbye today. Janice, can I start with you?
Of course. Well, first of all, it's been my absolute pleasure to be on this panel and just to be in the company of both of you. It's been an honor. To share Grove's story is it's important, and we have a lot more. And that's the sad part of it, is there's a lot more stories from many years ago. But I really do believe if we keep having things like this and keep talking, that we can continue this change. I do believe that in my heart, and I hope I'm not just believing in things that don't exist. I do believe that conversation is the key to remove that stigma.
Thank you, Janice. Daryl, how about you? Parting thoughts?
Well, I like to say man up isn't keeping quiet. Man up is being vulnerable and let people help you. So, we're here. Most employers are open door policy for help, right? So there's help available. So man up is not what it used to be.
Appreciate that, Daryl. Thank you. And Adam.
Yeah, I think, Matt, I would just close with, I think I would think more than ever, there's more help available. There's more ways that people can get assistance. I mean, I think I will say just on behalf of the authority, we've had some trauma over the last couple of years, and we had Compeer come in, and I arranged for our supervisory staff, probably 20 to 25 people, received this mental health training course, mental health first aid training course that was, I can't say enough about it. It was incredibly helpful. It was, I think it really hit people the right way. And I wanted our staff to be able to be, better able to respond to issues that we were seeing, that we were thinking could happen. Whether it was trauma from the workplace, trauma from home, whatever it is. So I think that would be my final thing would be that there is help out there. The folks at Compeer were wonderful. The training was something that we still utilize to this. I mean, the training was a few months ago, but we still talk about it and utilize it. And if people are feeling like their mental health is suffering, I please ask for help. We care. People care. It's clear. Just Janice and Daryl, just hearing them talk for this last hour, it's clear that they have a deep care and compassion. And I would imagine that we're not the only 3 people in Western New York who are working with our employees and making them feel that way. So yeah, people care and utilize the help and the services that are out there, because that's what those folks are there for.
Thank you. Well, as a reminder to our audience, we need you to take the pledge to end stigma by going to our website, letstalkstigma.org. If your organization would like to join us in our cause, there's information on the website as well. Just click on the members tab to find out how. Together, we can reduce stigma and create an environment of support where help seeking and help giving are the norm. Once again, I'd like to thank our panelists, Janice Vertlieb, Daryl Fountain, and Adam Sassone. I'd also like to thank everyone behind the scenes, Mike Telesco from Telesco Creative Group for his vision and technical support, and Karen Karashevsky from KKPR Buffalo for her support as well. We hope you'll join us for our next Facebook Live, which will be coming your way in November. If you joined us late or want to tell anyone about this episode, all of our Facebook Live programs are available at our website, letstalkstigma.org. So on behalf of the Anti-Stigma Coalition, until next time, I'm Matt Smith. Stand up to stigma and good luck on your wellness journey.
Take care.